Hello, my YouTube. I go by the name Trill. Thanks so much tuning in the channel today. I really thank you for the support. If you're new to the channel, please follow me on my Instagram. That is trilldesilva@gmail.com. Today is marks the new year office. We are in a new year, so I thought of starting a series of a beginner's guide. I kind of know that there's some people literally just started learning music for parts or so who start from the basics up to the build up, and then we'll try to make a song together without wasting much of the time. Okay, when this window pops up, let's make sure that our audio interface is set, or probably our audio drivers are in good working condition. So what I'll do is I can click right here in the center where it reaches configure audio, or I can come to Studio One, then come to my option, and then we'll click on setup. Right here, when you click right here, it will show the drivers, whatever audio drivers that are installed on your computer. I'm using a Focusrite USB interface, but for some reason I ended up downloading Voicemeeter into. If you don't have this, please you can use the Windows Audio or whatever that can work best for you. But I would recommend you download Voicemeeter Virtual. I'll put the link in description. We'll go ahead and hit apply and then hit OK. Creating a new song. When you create a new song, this window pops up here. So up here is different type of presets that come along Studio One, but we'll go ahead and jump to the bit of the right side. We'll start the new session on a blank page. So we'll go ahead and put up our title of a song, whatever that we're doing. So I would call this part 1. Then here you have got an option where you want to save your project, or probably your song. You can go ahead and browse and put it on a desktop wherever you want, but I'd leave it in default in Studio One's folder. Up here then you've got your bitrate. I would recommend you skip probably these, and then your tempo, whatever tempo that you're comfortable to say working with. I would go with 140. I'll click that in. If you are aware of the song, probably you know what key of a song that you want to play. You can go ahead and insert the key of the song right here. In my case, I'll leave it as it is, and we'll go ahead and hit OK. So a bit of a recap on this one. I know it might be a little complicated to see this window pop up in such thing, but first and foremost, we've got this main part on the center, and then we've got the left part right here, and the right part down here, up here. The right side is probably your browser, because it's active on the browser. You can switch between the mixer. That mixer can pop up there. Let's try to upload in something like probably an audio file or something like that, so that we can have a better understanding. So I'll go ahead and hit on my browse, and then I'll come to my files, then I'll come to my samples, then my loops. I'll go ahead and probably drop in this loop kit that I'm working on. It's on a tempo of 130, so I'll turn back my tempo to 130. Sorry for that correction. Hit OK. If you don't know how to add up your loops and probably your kits in Studio One, I already did a video on that. Please go check out the link in description. I'll put the link on how you can add your VSTs and these other things. Okay, I'll go ahead and close up the browser. So to our browser section, here you can switch between your instrument, that means your VSTs. If they are not listed as they are, probably they are in a folder format or the vendor. So I would recommend you put them on flat so that everything is listed down here for you. Then you have got your effects between here. That is about the browser. So we'll click on the browse button to remove that app. Then next up we've got our mix. Will be our course, but for now this is the mixer in case you're trying to find the ways on how you can access that. Then lastly we've got our edit button. There are two ways on how you can control your volume of the sample in case it's loud. You've got to right along to your left side, you've got access to your volume, you've got your mute and solo, or you can access this again in the mix. When you click on your mix, you can see that the volume in between is also switching. You can use this mean or whatever that you find suitable to your means or your standard of working along. A bit long, so I would get my cut tool. I would make a cut right there, and then we can get our eraser and erase it, or we just hit delete. Since it's already active, we can just hit delete, and we'll put back our arrow tool, or we can hit 1 on our keyboard to activate that. Let's try to set up a loop so that this gets to loop to where our sample is. So the shortcut to do that, I would hit Alt on my keyboard and left click where I want the loop to end. I'm sure there's that thing right there on top that has been activated, but if you try to play, it will still bypass. The reason being is because our loop is not yet active. So you can hit the question mark on your keyboard, or you can come right here and activate the loop. That will be activated. I'm sure you've seen that turned blue up there. Now when you play, it will bypass because the cursor has moved already past the loop. So when you take that back, now that our loop is set, our samples to start with probably our claps. So there are two ways to introduce samples here. In my case, I'll try to, I have my own kits. You can use your own sounds. So I'll come to my files. Then I'll switch here because I renamed my tab so well. I'll come to my kit and I'll probably use the Slight Volume 8. I'll go to my snares and so there are two ways on how you can import this. The quickest way is you can highlight on your sample. You can send this to new sample 1. But what you should know right about now is our root on the sample is the C3. So right here is a C3. So that means when we hit C3, that means we are playing on the sample's right tune, or probably. So there are two ways how you can use samples in Studio One. Studio One likely had give you two samplers to work with. One with is what is called sample 1 ext. So basically this only one works with one sample inside of it. Then we have also what is known as the impact. So when you right click this, you can send it to impact. So this is impact. So impact is kind of a drum mode where you can throw different kind of samples in these pads, and then you happen to have access to them in your MIDI file. The question I get asked most is when best do you use impact and when best do you use sample 1? My recommendation, if you're working with hi-hats and 808, because you kind of go a bit in different pitches, in different octaves, I would recommend to work with sample one. So sample one is something that you can work with your 808 and your hi-hats, because you kind of go crazy between the pitches. Unlike impact, this is good when you're working with things like snares, because you are maintaining one octave. And to delete this track, what you can do is you can hold your shift and hit your T button, or you can right click on it and you can remove the track. Okay, the first channel to my side, I kind of feel like I usually start with my kick, so I'll clear this up, clear the pad right there. I'll click yes, and then this I usually like okay. Let's close the browser for a moment. So what we want to do is to insert a mid worksheet, something that we can put midis to work with. There are two ways you can insert the MIDI worksheet. One, you can draw it up with your paint tool. So you hit on 5 on your keyboard, that's a shortcut. Then you can start from the beginning and then you highlight that. I'll unzip that by hitting Ctrl Z. The other way you can do that, make sure that your loop point is active, because if you, depending on the bars you want to work with, if I shorten this up, and then since I have my my arrow tool, I'll just double click right here. You find that my MIDI file is created. So in my case, I will unzip that and ensure that my loop is 4 bars. I'll double click this, and then our MIDI file is inserted. Enter the edit button or the edit window. What you do is you click on the active channel track that you want to work with. You can either double click or you can hit your edit button to access it. It doesn't matter which one you use, the destination is the same. I'll try to make this window a bit large, and I'll enlarge the notes a bit, and then let's try to make up something. So usually one of the things I like to work with is the auto scroll. I like to turn it off. The auto scroll, I like working with it off so that my screen doesn't follow the cursor. Let's go ahead and try to save this project to where we've reached. So in your top left corner, what you do is you left click here, click save, or you can hit Ctrl S, a pattern to work with. If you understand what I do, if I play and start playing again, you realize my cursor doesn't start playing from the beginning. So what I'll do is I'll set this from the beginning, and then I'll hold my Alt button and press P on my keyboard. So Alt plus P. You realize that there's like a blue thing that has been set there. That ensures that every time you pause or hit your play, your cursor will always start from the beginning. That's a good tip for you right there. So let's try ahead and try to make up something to come up with a drum pattern here. When I like to come with my drum pattern, what I like doing is I first throw a kick on the first, so that I can have my timing on the snare where to land. So I'll go on the threes. Please, if the volume is too much, all you can do is access the instrument right here. If you don't have access to that, you can still go back and hit on it here, and then you click on your snare, ensure that it's active. You can reduce the gain right here if it's too loud. Okay, what I like to do with my snare is I would go back my edit, I'll hit Control and click on this, You realize that my snare is highlighted. So what I'll do is I'll duplicate this by hitting D on my keyboard. Uh, you realize that it's already set in a good timing. So hit again play. Right there, I think I've liked my MIDI pattern. I'll go ahead and click back the edit button to return to the window. Then I'll enable my mixer here. I think you've realized that we are clipping over 104. So clipping, what simply means, that means the volume is way beyond the normal threshold. If that kind of makes sense. So what I'll do is I'll put a limiter on my main channel. So the main channel is like it's like the exit door. Everything I make, it comes exit of this. So if I would set a limiter here to say whatever comes out of this door, make sure it's not beyond the normal threshold. So to do that, I'll click my plus button and put my limiter, type limiter there, and then we put this limiter, and we'll click the 0 dB limiting. We'll close that up. So in case of where you want to rename some of these, for example, if you want to rename this, all you can do is just double click this, and then probably I can say maybe just moon. If I'll try to hand moon loop. If you want also to ensure that the WAV file or whatever worksheet that you're working with in the main window, if you hit your shift button, hold down your shift button and hit enter, it will rename both files. Yeah, you realize that this also has been renamed. But if I click here and say drums and don't hit my shift key, only this part is renamed. So to rename both files, what you do is you double click on the name. Since it's selected, I will just hold my shift and enter key to rename both files. So up here is the tool that we use to cut, and then we've got our eraser, we've got our pen tool. Those are very important, that tool that we'll be working with. So now that we've made these two our MIDI, I would want to probably duplicate these over. So what I will do is I can highlight them by left clicking and highlight those. Make sure you're starting off from the blank and your cursor is showing as the arrow pointer. Or what you can also use is hit Ctrl A on your keyboard. That will highlight them. Duplicating in Studio One, all you do is just click a single key, that is D, on your keyboard to duplicate them over. So probably that is okay with me. I'll go ahead and hit save on that. Let's try to end the loop on 25. So what we'll do again is just hit your Alt key and go ahead in this timeline. You've seen that arrow up there, just left click on that. Our loop point will be all the way to 25 or lengthened. Let's go ahead and listen to a bit of what we made. For this tutorial, I'll end it here. So in the next part, we'll be trying to make our own melody. In a case where we didn't have an audio file of our own, then we would have to make our own melody. Thanks so much for watching this. Ensure that you watch part 2, and so that you can have a guide along on how we are moving uh, down to our course. So that's it. Please, if you like the video, hit that sub button, and please follow me on Instagram, that is on Trio de Silva. I would love to help up a brother. If you've got any personal questions that you want to hit me up, so please follow me on my Instagram. I would love to help a brother out. So peace.